Hey, this is Ron with radiologictechnologist.com and YouTube channel. This time I'm going to do a video with the mic turned on so I don't waste 20 minutes for nothing. And this video is brought to you by Bang, Radical Skedaddle. The guy at the gas station said it tasted like a Starburst and a Skittle had a baby. So how can you go wrong with that when 299 grams of caffeine isn't enough? 300 in this guy. Anyway, I got a question on my YouTube channel, so let's answer it again. The YouTube question came from somebody with an interesting username. Detective Awesome said, can you, and this was a comment on my video about which modality should I advance to after x-ray, where I talked about an article on Aunt Minnie that kind of went over how we took a hit this year in 2020 thanks to COVID, and which departments went up and which departments went down. And that has a play in where you advance to. If you're an x-ray tech and you're trying to decide if you want to go to CT or MRI, you might want to watch that video because MRI took a pretty big hit. I think it was 18%. So they said, hey, can you do a video on where the radiologic assistants or radiologist assistants stand? Last I heard, CMS was not paying for procedures done by RAs. I wouldn't be too happy to lose the opportunity of our own mid-level provider position, just like the nurses have their own. So great point, near and dear to my heart, the RPAs and RRAs. We have to have them. The number of doctors applying to medical school, number of people applying to medical school is shrinking. It's not as much fun, doesn't pay as much to be a doctor as it used to. And then once they're getting into medical school, even less are opting for radiology specialty rotations. So we're going to see less and less radiologists coming into the field. And without a mid-level provider, we're screwed. And you can see it happening with the anesthesiologists. Big fight against, we don't want nurse anesthetists. They'll encroach on our territory. We'll start making less because they'll start taking some of our business. And they fought it. And fortunate enough for the gigantic nursing lobby, they won. The nurses won. And you now have nurse anesthetists. And dare I say, the anesthesiologists are grateful because they needed help. And now they've got help. And now, if you've got a busy group, you just hire on a couple of nurse anesthetists at much less than what the doctor was making. And they can do the work while you take a vacation in the Bahamas. So the radiologists don't have that. And we know how much our radiologists like to vacation in the Bahamas. So the RPA was the first step that would have gotten us there. That was started at Weber State. It was a joint effort with the military. I'll link to an article in the description that I did on the history of the RPA program that is now defunct. It closed a couple of years ago. Didn't get the support it needed, but the RA program was kind of the phoenix out of the ashes of the RPA program. I don't know how much of it's folklore or not. It's in the article, but the people that I knew, I was in the RPA program, the people that I knew running the program said that some folks came and said, we want to join you, observe the curriculum and whatnot, and then went and started their own thing, and that's where the RA came from. And because it had the backing of the RRT and ACR, it grew legs and took off. For the RPA program, Weber State was always kind of like the wicked stepchild. Nobody wanted to back it up. So there are still about 300-ish RPAs out there practicing. Good for you guys. And the RAs, there's probably 20 or more schools offering that now. I highly recommend you check that out if that interests you. We definitely need them out there in the field. But to get back to your question, it does not appear that everything is honky-dory yet on the billing. So if you go to the srpeweb.org website, that's the Society of Radiology Physician Extenders, srpeweb.org, and I'll put that in the description. You can see their notes going back to December of 2018. There was some stuff passed that allowed for the RAs to do the work, and the RAs could bill private payers. So it says, according to Pam Casing, the ACR senior economics advisor. The only thing that cannot be billed to Medicare by the radiology practice is procedures with CPT codes 10,000 to 69999 done by the RAs on Medicare patients in a hospital setting. However, the RAs can legally practice and do all procedures. They just can't bill for all to Medicare, but the radiology group and hospitals can bill everything to the private payers. Legislation is still needed for radiology groups to bill Medicare for those procedures that I mentioned in the hospital setting. And they also have to mention, and then in the report, the radiologists have to say, quote, procedure performed by, and then the RA's name and credentials under the personal director, general supervision of, and then the radiologist's name and credentials. But in the next article in April of last year, so April 25th of 2019, they mentioned that Republican Mike Doyle introduced HR 1970, the Medicare Access to Radiology Care Act. This legislation will allow radiologists to submit claims to Medicare for non-imaging services performed by radiology assistants in hospitals and office settings, as well as imaging services in hospitals. Republicans, and that lists all the reps who are the co-sponsors. And it says, if enacted, the MARCA would offer Medicare recognition of RAs as mid-level providers of healthcare services working under the supervision of a radiologist. The MARCA bill is another positive step towards RA recognition at the federal level. In November of 2018, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services revised the physician fee schedule to allow RAs to practice under direct supervision levels. The change followed significant advocacy efforts targeting CMS by the SRPE and other radiology stakeholders. So they're making progress, and if you follow that HR 1970 link, and I'll put it in the description, to congress.gov, that bill is still in the introduced category. It has to be passed by the House, then passed by the Senate, then it gets to the president to get signed and become a law. So you can track that if you so desire, and it'll happen. It'll eventually happen because we have to have mid-level providers in the radiology world. And if this COVID thing or this teleradiology takes off the way I think it is, a lot of these rads are going to be reading from home. And so then who's there to do all the BEs and lumbar punctures and small bowel follow-throughs? It's going to be the RAs. So we need the RAs. We need to be able to bill for them. And that's the current status. So I'll just quickly mention the Detective Awesome mentioned that there's a lot of fluoro cases still being done. Actually, it wasn't Detective Awesome. It was in a Reddit forum. Reddit, if you don't know, has a subreddit called /radiology. And I was chatting with them about this same thing. And somebody pointed out that the fluoro work's being done by the NPs and the PAs. And the RAs haven't gotten mad enough yet to stand up and say, knock it off. How many times as a tech did you go set up a room with a C-arm and say, call me when you're ready? And when you come back in, the doctor's holding it over the point of interest and a nurse or somebody stepping on the button for him. That's not allowable. But until they get sued or somebody makes a big to-do about this, they're going to keep skirting the rules. So on Reddit, this guy's saying it's time for RAs to stand up and claim that work back, because that's an RA's duty to run the fluoro, not a nurse. A nurse should not be stepping. Docs can. They have a medical license, but nurses cannot be stepping on that fluoro button. So, I'm hoping this trend continues. The radiology techs are waking up across the country. We've been getting stepped on for a long time, and there's a collective awakening happening where, we're tired of getting sent home and told to use our PTO so that the hospital saves a little bit of money. And we're getting squeezed to just only running a few people. And then if it gets busy, they call in more techs. I'd rather staff appropriately and put up a voluntary go home early list. And if it's slow, allow people to go home that want to go home. Don't force people to take their PTO. The PTO is earned. It's an earned benefit, and it should be used when the employee wants to use it. They should not be forced to use that. I'll get off that high horse at this point. I hope that answers your question about where the RAs stand. If not, hit me up with another question. Happy to answer it. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm getting close to my goal. I'm looking for 1,000 subscribers, and we're at about 840 at this point. So tell your friends, get them to like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Have a great week.